I think this is going to go great. Like, starting this podcast, I had friends instantly text me, yo, you're going to get canceled. Like, but here's the deal. If I do this and I get canceled, there's no difference than if I don't do this, right? Like, either way, I end up at the same spot. Maybe I get fired from my day job, but that's probably going to happen anyways. So let's get straight into it. Look, I don't truly know what I'm going to do with this podcast. People are asking me, like, oh, yo, is it going to be a comedy podcast? Are you going to be telling jokes? I guess, but I think mainly this is more so I'm treating this like a late night talk show, like a Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel-esque show where you start off reading some current events, catching up. Hey, yo, this is what I did last week. This is what I'm doing next week. Having a guest on or two. And then obviously, yes, there will be some jokes in between and just overall, sharing things in life, whether it's cooking, folding laundry, travel, whatever it is. That is what I hope to get across on this channel. My Instagram posts have become very stagnant. TikToks have kind of drove me to the ground where it's just a bunch of either express men that I'm posting or, hey, here's another wedding that I was at. Here's another bachelor party that I was at. Here's another birthday. It just feels all cyclical to me. So I'm really excited for this. I truly appreciate all the support that I've gotten so far. Whether it's real, whether it's fake, I don't care. The dopamine is still real, so I appreciate everything. And without further ado, my name is Ajay Patel, and this is the Ajay Patel Show. You'll see me keep referencing down here. I just have my notes and some stuff that I pulled up just to make sure I don't go off the rails too much. I'll probably keep this episode a little bit shorter than the other ones, mainly to just get an episode out there, kind of get my feet wet, figure out what I'm doing wrong, figure out what I'm doing right, and overall just kind of start the process and journey. Who am I? For those that know me and are already listening, no need to, you can skip over this part if you'd like. But for any new listeners, firstly, I greatly appreciate you. And my name is Ajay Patel. I am currently in Los Angeles, California. I am 28 years old, South Asian American. I grew up in a city called Irving, Texas, which is kind of just a smaller city within the Dallas Metroplex region. It's not that interesting, like I grew up kind of like any other second generation kid, focused on school, played a couple sports, went to college, got a job in data analytics. Didn't become a doctor, but I felt like data analytics was the next best thing that I could achieve. And yeah, I was pretty much doing that from 2017 onward to from till now. Technically, my job title changed to web analyst, but I kind of treat the role the same. After I was in Austin for college, I moved back home, did COVID in Dallas, and then towards the end of COVID, I actually moved out here last November. So that's November 2022. My girlfriend and I, who you'll probably hear me referencing a bunch because I live with her and she is my girlfriend. Her name is Isha Patel. So I guess first shout out of the podcast. Her and I moved out here last November and we were both working from home fully, and she was kind of done with Texas. I was in a good spot to leave my Dallas place, and I always wanted to move to LA. I had a plan to move out here in 2017, I want to call it 2018 maybe. I was trying to get a job in Palmdale, which now I learned is nowhere freaking close to Los Angeles, and it didn't work out at the time. I remember my sister told me she was expecting, and I really wanted to be in near home when that happened, and no regrets there. So Los Angeles was always on the map. And then the other factor, I think we were looking at New York, Brooklyn in particular. So it was either between Brooklyn and Los Angeles. And honestly, it came down to one. I am a big fan of the weather in Los Angeles, and I always had an inclination to go here. And then two, I actually wanted to move away from friends, as strange as it sounds, because now one of my biggest complaints is a lack of friends. and family. But in New York, I had a couple of very close friends that I was super close to in college. They'll probably end up on this podcast eventually as a guest or whatever. Um, I wanted to be away from that because I know that as soon as you get caught up in, like, oh, hey, let's go to this. Hey, let's do this. Let's do this. You kind of get distracted from some of the other things that you want to do. And so that brings me into this, for example, right? Like recording a podcast, starting a podcast, pursuing comedy, pursuing acting, all of those things. It was also a silver lining of Los Angeles, right? You can do all of that stuff in New York. I'm sure you can probably do it in Texas with the comedy scene kind of moving over to Austin. But Los Angeles just seemed like the right place to be at the moment. Um, so we moved out here in November and we got a place in Hollywood. And so for those that know the area, Hollywood is obviously, where you see the stars on the street, you see the Chinese theater, you see all these people dressed up as Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, uh, very touristy area. And this was my mistake. We kind of did an Airbnb for a month and it was trash. Like you you just don't feel like leaving your place. And then, if you need to leave the house to whether it's go to dinner or whatnot, you're instantly in kind of like this tourist traffic where you're parked at an intersection for 45 seconds or up to 3 minutes based on how long people want to keep walking. You're about an hour away from the airport, and closeness to the airport was a big factor because, as many of you also have, is a bunch of weddings and a lot of frequent trips to the airport, whether it's flying for work, life, whatever. And so then in December, we actually moved over to Culver City, and it has been, I like it a lot. It was between Culver City and downtown. And it's not just downtown in Los Angeles, but downtown anywhere where it's just like, yo, what the hell is this? Like, I remember growing up and thinking like, oh my gosh, we're going to downtown today. Like that must be so cool. We're going to maybe go to a restaurant, see this fountain, like it was seen as like a day out. And Los Angeles downtown is just like pretty much any other downtown, whether it's Houston, Dallas, just name a city, pick a downtown. And you know that as soon as you go there, there's a lot of homeless. Everything's much more expensive just because it's technically downtown. A lot of businesses are there. So it's not like you're really in this lively area. And on top of all of that is just safety, right? Like the homeless population in Los Angeles has gotten crazy. A lot of people said that it was getting better right before COVID, but like, all right, like what does that matter to me? And as two people that like to kind of just walk, whether you want to just feel like leaving the house, getting a run in, whatever it is, downtown is just not it. So Culver City, it was, and it has proven to be awesome. Closeness to the airport, closeness. Yeah, whatever. Don't flame me if that's not a word, but proximity to the airport, proximity to grocery stores, fun restaurants, a vibey downtown, which isn't really like a downtown. And it has been dope. So that's like one pillar of my Los Angeles story. This once again, just kind of reiterating, is I'm using this mainly as an introduction, talking about my time. I've been here for about 8 months now. And, starting stuff like this has been part of that journey. Like I said earlier, is I wanted to get into acting and comedy as well. Growing up in Irving, Texas, you don't actually, just in Texas in general, you aren't around this energy at all. You don't really see much of it. All you see is what you see on the big screen. And even back then, right, there was no true social media like there is now, where you see every single thing, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, you see everything happening. So you can be kind of more integrated into the culture nowadays than you could back then. I say back then like it's forever ago, but it was a massive difference. And so I always wanted to be closer to, I guess, show business, as cringy as that may sound or whatnot. in college, I would MC some of these local dance competitions, and I would work on my stand up routine because I just wanted to do that a little bit more versus kind of MCing is just very short little skits. You come out, hey, how's everyone doing? Here's this next act. You get to go back. It's playing it safe. You don't really have to go out there and do much material. You just have to go out there and make sure you don't make any shitty jokes, right? Like at the end of the day, as long as you don't lose the audience, you did a decent job as an MC. As a stand-up artist, comic, whatever it is, much harder. I used to just not tell any of my roommates or close friends, and I used to go do these small little 3-minute sets at the Velveeta Room in Austin, and it was pretty horrific. I will say that, because there would be like 5 people in the audience on a Tuesday night. You're already nervous. I was tall, but I was very super scrawny in college, and I guess that's when the weight got put on. College 15, whatever they call it. And it wasn't great. And so I kind of just kept using MC as my fix, as weird as that sounds, but it really was. I was doing that, and I was dancing. I was dancing a ton. And after doing that, after investing myself into dancing for 4 years, I I cannot. I have no desire to do it again. Obviously, I do it for like these reception dances, and when it's for fun. Obviously, at a reception, I'll dance. At like the organized dances that happen at a reception, I'll do it. Small skit. If it's like something small, I'll do it. But if it's like, hey, we're recording this choreographed video, yeah, we're gonna do like 532 counts. I just don't have the desire to do it. And what sucks is I kind of fell back into the trap during COVID when all these TikTok dances were popping. Because I was like, oh, yo, I got to get famous. I got to get on this TikTok wave. How do I do it? Oh, I got to do these dances. Oh, I got to, oh, oh, oh. That shit was so cringy. I would record it, and I remember I would watch it back, and I'd be like, this is horrible. I feel, when you just feel like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this. Like, I can't do it anymore. Um, I do think I'll go to maybe like some of these smaller dance classes where you get to just kind of have fun. And it would be pretty dope to do that in LA, because growing up, you would just see all of that stuff on YouTube and whatnot. And you would basically, that's how you would learn to dance. If you didn't go to a proper dance class, whether it's classical training or a Bollywood class, if that is even a thing back then. I think it would be dope to do something small like that. But as far as pursuing a talent, um, yeah, if you see me dancing, I've given up. Like I've called it quits, and I'm saying like, oh yeah, here we go, I'm back. So if that happens, please check up on me. This right here, this isn't that insane. This is just a podcast. Like, I do think this will be a fun time for all of us, especially sharing the experiences. I wish more people had podcasts, just because I think a lot of people go through some dope shit, and it's like, yo, you need to talk about that. Whether it's good, bad, it doesn't matter. Like, just share that, because more than likely, someone out there, probably not a direct friend, but someone that ends up listening to it's like, okay, you know what? I did want to move to Los Angeles, and I didn't really know where to be. So maybe this is helpful for that. But back to kind of like the path to LA, or I guess my first 8 months in LA. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be closer to the comedy scene and the acting scene. I never really acted growing up. And so I have yet to determine whether I'm even good or not, which is a strange place to be. Uh, because like obviously some people think they're funny, and they, whether it's validated or not, and you can kind of go down that path. The acting thing's like, am I doing a good job? Especially if you haven't been part of a project or anything, you're just kind of in this limbo where you have no idea whether people are actually gravitating towards this or they're not. Um, this shit better not stop recording. Okay, back to it. For the acting thing, I did do theater growing up. Obviously, it was not like an elected class. That's a lie. I obviously had theater as part of my curriculum through grade school, whether it's, I don't know, middle school, high school. I was taking theater. And then in college, I took an introductory to theater class and I enjoyed it a lot. I think we learned, that's when I first learned about monologues, uh, how to kind of change your tone to address different pieces, how to deliver on pieces, things like that, but nothing close to what I've been kind of researching as I've been out here. I think it's a wild world, and I do think I have a lot to figure out if I'm going to be pursuing that more. But I will say my experience so far has been good and bad. The good part, let's just start with the good part, right? I first moved out here and I signed up for this thing called backstage.com. Look, it's legit. It's not weird. It's a little weird. You can see some weird roles on there and stuff like that. But I would go on there, and as someone with no type of reel, they call it. So you have no, uh, basically a clip of you doing a scene from another project, whether it's a commercial, a movie, a TV show, a reel. I didn't have that. I didn't have anything. All I had was some pictures that I think came from my friend to kill 2 years prior to me moving here. And so I signed up for this website, looked up some roles that were particular to South Asians, and I found this student film called Dosh. And Isha drove me out. I got asked to be an extra. And so they're like, "Do you have an Indian outfit?" I was like, "Come on now. Of course I do." And it was super simple. Like the way they made the process sound, and this doesn't have a bad ending, by the way. Like I know I'm leading up to it, but this is all a good story. Like basically, I drive out to Sherman Oaks, and I check in with the person I think I was supposed to be checking in with. They do kind of a COVID protocol to make sure you were negative. The COVID level of the amount of people in LA still scared of COVID is pretty high. I know that sounds very Texan of me. Relax. So I did this COVID protocol, make sure I'm all negative, and then I'm on this set and instant butterflies, right? Like obviously I don't have to do anything. As an extra, you are literally standing in the back and you're clapping. You're either sitting there, you're staring, you're just observing. You don't do anything. You literally are just there. What was great about it, though, was seeing these student films. You'll realize if you ever end up on a set is they take things way more serious than some of these other productions, which I'll get into later. But, you kind of start seeing like these different call outs. We know the one that's, action, blah, 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 cut. Okay, cool. We know those, right? But all of the other call outs, different camera angles, how they shoot a different scene, how they set people up. Oh, okay, we have to do this take, and then we're going to record the same scene from this angle, and then this angle, and then we're going to record it over this person's shoulder. And it's like, holy shit. And these shoots were probably 8 to 12 hours, going from 5 p.m. till 3 a.m. on one day. So it's pretty wild. As someone that has never been on set before, you're here and you're just like, what the hell am I doing? Obviously I don't have a big impact, right? Like if I don't show up, the film is fine, right? But it's just a matter of being around the energy, being around someone's project. Like someone planned all of this out, put a ton of effort into it, all of that, and you're part of it. And I will say the best thing about it was one, that they take things more seriously. So you're just around this energy and you learn more, but also the people. I was expecting LA people to be much more shut off, whether it's just like, oh yeah, I'm trying to take care of my own, leave me alone, like I'm trying to be famous, you do your own thing and stuff, that kind of energy. But it was quite the opposite. These people kind of just welcomed me. Oh, like, did you just move to LA? Oh, this is your first shoot. Congratulations. Like this and that, this and that. And it kind of caught me off guard, right? Because I'm not intimidated, but also like it's quick to feel like, oh, yeah, I don't belong here, right? So having that kind of energy around me was super nice, right? So you just feel like, okay, you know what? This is kind of cool. Like all these people, I'm making new friends, adding these people on Instagram, being around this, being around that. And still to this day, that has been my favorite project that apologies for the Alexa sound in the back. That is still my favorite project I have been a part of. So since then, I have done some smaller projects, a lot of background work still. I did one commercial where I was opening a box for Ryder, I think it is, or Stitch Fix. I can't remember. Maybe it was both, because they kind of just use clips interchangeably. Don't think that shit got aired. I don't think that thing got aired at all. So that one was a notable project, and then another fun one was this HBO show called what was it called? Winning Time. Winning Time. It's a show on HBO. It was on Warner Bros. Studios, and you feel like, oh my gosh, like this is so iconic. You see this warehouse that they turned into a basketball court. You see that they have a bunch of people over here, and then they shoot that scene, and then they do another take facing this way, but they move those same people over there. I think that season 2 is coming out soon. I am probably in it for the smallest amount of time you can think of. Something smaller than a nanosecond. I'm probably in it for that much. So when that comes out, look for me. And if you find me, I'll Venmo you $1, because holy shit, I'm not looking through that shit for me. But enough about my LA time. Like obviously as these podcasts go on, I'll get into it more and more. But I wanted to kind of get into some random stuff, right? Some stuff that we'll see, that we've seen happening day to day on people's snaps, things that we can make fun of, things we can poke fun at, but also appreciate. So I'm going to take a quick water break and we'll hop back into it. When did Indo warehouse become so big? Like, I feel like I moved out here and this shit was just on fire. Like, I went to some of these, what is it, No Nuzzer concerts, shows, and it was dope. I've never heard music like that, the way, the way these DJs do it, and just the whole vibe of it all. Because it's kind of just like this house EDM with the classic Bollywood beats that you've grown up with, and it was super dope. And then I saw like this past week, a lot of friends from New York, they were at this Indo warehouse. What is it called? A concert, and they had this big ass screen. You'd have thought Drake paid for this shit, and I had no idea they were this big. So I looked them up, and I see that they were on an entire summer 2023 tour, starting in Montreal, Washington, D.C., Portland, San Francisco, New York. So New York just happened. Toronto, August 12th. Seattle, August 25th. Vancouver, August 26th. These aren't small fucking shows. Like, this shit is huge. And I have no idea when this became so big. I think it's dope. I think it's dope that they even have these like playlists that you can listen to. I don't know whether they're kind of sets from the show or whatnot. How much is a ticket to this? Buy tickets. Let's see how much the August 12th was. That tomorrow? Oh, in 3 days. Buy tickets. Oh, yes, just give me the electric edition, please. $156. Oh, it's like a 2-day general admission pass? Holy shit. Look, I think this is super dope. Would I ever go to it? Probably not. not because not because it's actually no, just exactly because it's a rave. I have stopped going to any concerts that are not that I don't have a designated seat for. Like I think the last thing I went to ACL a couple years ago and then a couple years before that. And as a tall person that is pretty high anxiety, you're always thinking like, yeah, I might get stuck here. Cuz you end up in this sea of people and you'll see shorter people facing you and it's like, how are you enjoying this? Like you can't see shit. You are staring at me. The concert is that way. How are you enjoying this? And so since then, I think I had made a vow to, like I can't do music festivals anymore. I try to go now and then, or I try to elect to. So ACL a couple years ago was with Isha because she's a big fan of kind of that vibe where you're outside, music playing. I think at one point she tried to push forward and I pulled her back. I was like, yo, you got to stop, man. Like, because if we get in a fight and someone knocks you down, like, I'm too big to navigate through this crowd. Like, please just, like, I just can't do that scene anymore. So, speaking of big ass crowds, I'm trying to see how much time I have on this so I don't get cut off here. This Taylor Swift tour, here's my take of the day. Is Taylor Swift the Michael Jackson of our era? I don't think I'm crazy for saying that. Like, I don't think I'm crazy for saying that. Swift's Eras Tour has grossed more than 300.8 million with an average ticket price of just over $250 and an average attendance of nearly 54K over 38 performances through the end of June. I think she's performing here tonight in LA, and the cheapest ticket is $1,500 in the nosebleeds. Obviously, that's someone's reselling the ticket, but still, like, how do I get a ticket to this show if I were to go? I don't listen to Taylor Swift, but you got to appreciate greatness when it's happening. I do think in a couple of years we're going to be talking about her as the biggest tour ever. Cuz this shit is huge. She's been going to places and been playing for nights. She goes to Chicago and she'll stay a week there. LA, I think she's been here for a week. And this isn't done. I thought Drake was a big deal. When I got my Drake tickets, I was like, Taylor Swift ain't got nothing on this. Drake had to add another night in Dallas. Taylor Swift added 3 more nights in Dallas. Like, it's not even comparable. The only person I think I can compare Taylor Swift to is right now is Bad Bunny. And he's international. So obviously that's a little bit lopsided if we were to compare. But I think what she's doing right now is absolutely wild. Okay, maybe not Michael Jackson, but like Mike. Damn. I think I have a minute. No, hold on. How do I even wrap this up? So look, if you were here for my first episode, I truly appreciate you. If you didn't like it, try out episode 2 when it comes out. I'm gonna try to keep these coming on a weekly basis. I think this one will be releasing on the 14th, and so I'm recording this on a Wednesday. If anything crazy has happened since now and then, I apologize for not covering it. But as these shows go on, I think I'll make him a little bit longer, fill up some more content, add some editing, just add a whole production to it. So for this one, I truly do, once again, appreciate all the support. And yeah, how do I end it? I appreciate y'all again. Take care and bye. God damn.